Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Spirit Matters, your daily Bhakti Center podcast where we discuss spiritual topics and how to bring them into our daily lives and apply them practically. I am here with Achyuta Gopi, my co-host, and our tri-host, Dayal, is off this week, but he'll be back next week. We have our beautiful, wondrous live studio audience here. Welcome Isa and Kimberly and Lane all the way on the West Coast, Martha and Rachna and Sydney in Texas. Welcome everyone and everyone else listening. So yesterday we spoke a little bit about, this question, I guess, that I had about how I know if I'm doing something actually for Krishna, or how I know I'm doing something for, something spiritual. Like, how do I even know if what I'm doing is spiritual or not, right? And we kind of dove into that a little bit. But then, Achyuta, you were reminding us that there was kind of this second part of my question, which I forgot about. So thank you for reminding me, which was, what's a spiritual person like? what does a spiritual person look like or sound like? Or just, what are the characteristics of someone who is spiritual? And it's so interesting that we have these questions because Krishna talks about them in Bhagavad Gita thousands and thousands of years ago, eons ago. So Achyuta, would you like to share a little bit about that?
I do like the fact that this is a question that is not simply for us right now, but people have been asking this question for thousands of years. And in fact, I feel like I wanted you to read the verse and then we'll dive into it.
Okay, so this is in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 54. Should I read the response as well, Achyuta?
Sure.
Okay, it's kind of, let me see I'm gonna read until he starts getting into I'm gonna read until he starts getting into the degradation of the senses. We can save that for another time. Okay, so this is Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 verse 54, and Arjuna is asking. Krishna says, Arjuna said, O Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak, and what is his language? How does he sit, and how does he walk? The Supreme Person said, O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind, thus purified, finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. One who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. In the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. One who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects, as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell, is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. And I think this is the
Yeah.
last one.
Actually, that one was good.
That one was good. Okay, good.
Yeah, that one was really good. And I like it because there are a lot of things that I think, will feel triggering.
Mm,
I like that.
we love it.
We love diving into the deep stuff. Here it kind of sounds as though Krishna is saying, be alone, live alone, don't ever like interact, just kind of be like aloof from the whole thing, and you'll be fine. When in actuality, after reading this several times, And one thing I really recommend is definitely reading the purports, but
Yes.
also then going back and just reading the chapter through with the translations.
Yes.
So, like, after you've read a chapter, just go back again and then read that chapter again with just the translations and then see how you feel about it. Now that you've dived deeper through all of the philosophy, go back and remind yourself, like, what were we talking about again? Because the purports can be lengthy, the commentaries can be so involved that we tend to forget the trajectory of this conversation. So just looking at these translations, it's like, in the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it, is firmly fixed in knowledge. And that to me doesn't mean that nothing affects you, which is what people think it usually means. And something that I often get like cornered with. People are like, "Well, why is this affecting you? Aren't you a spiritual person? You should just be like rising above the whole thing." The reason Krishna is saying this is because Arjuna is currently affected by something at the moment.
Mm.
And so it's not that things are not going to affect you. It's almost like Krishna is like, let it finish first.
Mm.
Give it time to finish.
Mm.
So neither praising nor despising almost sounds like, okay, I'll see. I'll wait and see. I'm going to reserve my opinion till the end.
Mm.
And so what happens if we reserve our applause, our opinion, all of that till the end of whatever situation it is? Just because when we think we're in a situation, sometimes we can think, oh, you miss a flight. That was such bad luck. I cannot believe that happened. Why is God doing this to me? You miss a flight. And then it turns out that flight gets stuck somewhere, and then all kinds of things happen, and it would have been a 4-day delay.
Mm.
Then you think, oh wow, well, maybe that wasn't so much of a bad thing that I missed that flight. I got on the next one, I got home. So sometimes we have to wait till it's done. And then conversely, we get something that we think is amazing. Oh my God, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. It's what I've wanted for so long. Let it finish. Just let it finish.
Mm.
Because the one thing is, lots of people want a child. And
Mm.
then when they get that child, they think, why did no one tell me the truth about children? The truth about having children, the truth about birthing children. Why didn't anybody tell me the truth? And the truth of the matter is, usually some people do try and tell you the truth, but you can't hear it if that's not your situation.
Mm.
It's like impossible to hear or even conceive of. And that's what Krishna is telling Arjuna. He's like, look, I'm going to tell you some things. They're going to be impossible for you to conceive of, because we're entering new ground here for both of us. So I think one of the hallmarks of a spiritual person is they allow the situation, that space and time, to wind up a little bit before they jump on with their reservations or their applause or whatever it is. Spiritual people allow the sentence to finish.
Mm. Mm. That's really nice. I think that the mind is being trained so much by our current social ethos to not do that, to jump to conclusions, to have quote unquote answers for everything, to, this is the right way to think versus this is the wrong way to think. And I think that's such a hallmark, kind of very potent sign of the spiritualist, where it's just like, just wait, just be patient, like observe, like see what's going on with you, observe your inner world, observe your outer world, like see what's up before jumping to conclusions. Because like you said, I think it's really important to look at the context of all of these verses and understand where they're being said, how they're being said, in the context of the second chapter, in the context of Arjuna's dilemma. And it's also important to read the purport, because we don't want to, like you already mentioned, we don't want to get this impression that Krishna is telling Arjuna to just like be a hermit, right? And this is what spiritual life looks like, because it's not. One of my favorite, I don't know if I'm jumping the gun here, but one of my favorite verses here is the last one where we stopped at, about the tortoise. And it's so interesting because when you read something like that, it's saying one who's able to withdraw the senses, right? That's what the verse says, like the tortoise. What we're maybe not getting is that, and it's elaborated in the purport, is that the tortoise withdraws his limbs in the shell when he needs to. And then the tortoise also comes out of the shell when it's appropriate, when it's time to come out of the shell. And so Srila Prabhupada in the purport is speaking about this. I was actually like reading this verse for some reason the other day, and the purport. And Srila Prabhupada talks about this, how the senses, he was comparing them in the purport to like snakes, and uncontrolled snakes that are just like that's my snake sound. and and he was saying like how the mind, how we really need to be like the self needs to be like this snake charmer, who's playing that beautiful flute, that's able to calm down the snakes, lest they're out of control, right? If we're not able to do that. And even he doesn't say this in the purport, but I always thought this, that like if the venomous snakes of our senses are out of control, they'll start biting other people, they'll start biting me because they're out of control, and therefore it'll just be a whole out of control situation. So Srila Prabhupada is saying, like, actually, instead of being like these out of control snakes, we should be like the tortoise, who is able to at will, and that's like the really difficult part, like at will able to be like, oh, this is not a great thing for me right now, spiritually, emotionally, whatever. I am withdrawing my senses from this. And that doesn't mean withdrawing from the situation. That doesn't mean withdrawing from life. That means like I can control, right? I have a sense of control. And then it's like, oh, wait, I'm actually like in this beautiful kirtan, and it will be good to utilize my senses in this jumping and dancing and singing of Krishna's holy names. Whoop! Let me go out and let me have a big party. And I think that's the hardest part. And Krishna talks about this in various of these verses about having control of the mind by the self, by the soul. And then he says it in one of the verses, just like being self-satisfied, like being satisfied with that. And I find that we've talked about this so much in this podcast, about how so much of spiritual life is discipline of the self and control of the self. And I think that, and I'll throw this little like wrench here just because I want to hear what you have to say about it, but I think that that's so sometimes it gets like an unsexy kind of like rap, especially nowadays. Like when you look at kind of new age modern spirituality, it's just like, be you and do what you want and be free and manifest as you see wish. And you want this, you got it. You want this, manifest it. You can do whatever you want. And this is such an interesting, like, it's a different message. It's saying like, actually, there's some stuff out there that's probably dangerous. So you might want to like retract from it. And it takes a lot of control to be able to do that.
And it also takes practice to be able to do it. And like you said, it doesn't have to be a permanent thing. I feel like when we get into certain situations, we abandon our intelligence.
Mm.
And Krishna is always talking about like, use the intelligence to conquer the mind. And you ever get into a situation where your mind is telling you something, you're not worthy of it, you're not, why would they even look at you? Like, come on now, let's be real. Your intelligence is supposed to be there to say, but wait, now let's look at like prior evidence. Let's look at the way things have gone. And then let's really see the truth about the situation. Because the mind will drag us every which direction. Like you said, uncontrolled snakes, and they're everywhere. And I really like the idea of the tortoise, because I feel like it's dangerous if we don't. If we don't look around and say, I don't think I'm in a conducive situation to practicing, protecting, validating my spirituality, my Krishna consciousness, just me. We can get into situations where we are at a detriment, and then we don't know how to get out, because it almost feels like, you ever get in those, you're like, I don't know, I can't stop myself.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, we are so far gone, we don't even know how to stop ourselves. So it's it's good practice of that muscle. And it doesn't just mean, oh, I withdraw on the strength of my own whatever, because we understand that we are fallible and we are imperfect. And so now, what are we able to withdraw the senses or withdraw our energy on the basis of? On the basis of, I'm going to let Krishna finish because Krishna is my protector. Krishna is my maintainer. Krishna will help me. So I'm going to be able to withdraw on the basis of, yeah, now you take a little bit of that manifesting woo-woo, that the language that everybody uses. I'm going to be able to withdraw on the basis of whatever Krishna has lined up for me will not simply pass me by, because Krishna is not going to make mistakes. But I'm not going to abandon my intelligence by jumping into something that might not be even necessary for me. I saw, my sister saw an article. It was about like basketball players and such. And there was a title of the article that sounded like it could have been like clickbait. And there was a comment. Somebody said, I didn't read the article, but they all sound really petty to me. And I'm like, how do you just judge all those people and say at the very beginning, I didn't read the article, but they sound pretty petty to me? I'm like, don't be that person. Not in spiritual life, not in emotional life, not in our mental lives, not in our physical lives. Don't be that person. Read the rest of the article. Let the sentence finish. And then we can bring about a judgment or a conclusion based on, Krishna's my maintainer, my protector. Krishna's always looking out for me. So now with that knowledge on my side, now what do I do? And I feel like this is what Krishna is urging Arjuna to do. He's like, look at the whole situation. Don't just look at the headline and then think that everybody's going to judge you on the headline. Read the whole article. And I think it's really important for all of us to try and take that stance in our lives, because we can get really caught up in just the first 3 words of the headline. When really we can take a second, reserve it, hold it back. Like you said, just wait.
Well, as you're speaking, I'm just thinking of the 6 elements of surrender. This is beautiful definitions given in our bhakti literatures about like, well, what is surrender in the first place, and it's so interesting because I think, and this is like more of a philosophical topic that I've studied a lot, and I like wrote theses on it, and it's very intense, but basically it's about like the degradation of language and how we are moving away from like what words actually mean and replacing them with images, and not like great ones, right? Like kind of like really quick images. There's this like crazy ridiculous book that I don't recommend to anyone. It's called Of Grammatology, and it's like this big. I had to read it for one of my theses, but it's all about that. It's all about like linguistics and like the degradation of language. And the basic point is that like when you say a word, it no longer like carries its original meaning anymore, because society has like put on a kind of like you could think of it as like a persona of what that word actually is. And anyway, the reason I bring that up is because especially nowadays, like the way you can think about it on a simpler level is like the language around New Age spirituality. It's like we say words like surrender, and we say words like manifest, and we say words like, I don't know, peace and love, and it's like the spiritualists will ask like, well, what does love actually mean? Like, what do you mean love? Or what do you mean surrender? Like, what does that actually mean? And so it's so awesome that a lot of our spiritual teachers in the past have like gotten into it. They're like, well, let me write like books and books and books about like, what does this love mean, or what does this surrender mean? And I love specifically for surrender, there are these elements of surrender. There's 6 of them. And there are these elements of surrender, that understanding that Krishna is my maintainer, understanding that Krishna is my protector. Like those are the nice ones. Like, yeah, Krishna's my maintainer, Krishna's my protector. This is great. And then there are these two that are a little bit like, wait a minute, what? It's doing things that are favorable for my bhakti, and staying away from things that are not favorable
I
for
actually love those.
bhakti. I love those too. I love those too. But for people that are like, no rules, right? Kind of new age spiritualists, they'll be like, what? What does that have to do with surrender? And it has everything and anything to do with surrender, because if I am purposefully, like, it all ties back to the turtle, right? If I'm purposefully just like not doing the work, if I'm not doing the work, as people like to say nowadays, right? Like, do the work, doing the work, right? If I'm not doing the work to control, to have discipline over where I'm engaging and where I'm not engaging, then that's actually like not allowing me to fully surrender, right? Like there's all this fear that comes up sometimes when people hear this word of surrender, surrender. How am I going to surrender to Krishna? How am I going to surrender to a higher power? Well, if you're getting yourself involved in like, not cute situations constantly, and that's like you're doing, well, yeah, probably you're going to have a hard time surrendering, because you're not setting the scene for yourself in a sustainable way, right? Whereas if I'm engaging constantly in things that are favorable for my deeper connection and deeper relationship with my higher power, then I can start to move into that place of like, wow, I am really understanding and feeling that Krishna is my maintainer, that Krishna is my provider and my protector. And that's going to allow me to kind of like let go of the ropes a little bit of such intense control.
Absolutely. And in practical application, it doesn't look fun. It doesn't look cute, because what happens is you are assessing then your relationships, right? And then you're like, this person is drama. But what if I don't dive into their drama and then they walk away from me and no one will ever love me again? That's where, okay, what am I withdrawing myself on the basis of? My own thought process, my own whatever, nobody's going to love me? Or am I withdrawing based on the fact that, okay, this drama is actually not conducive to me being a surrendered soul, and I don't miss out because Krishna is my maintainer and protector, because all of the keys for surrender go hand in hand? Am I able to withdraw on the faith that Krishna will actually take care of me?
Mm,
And that's surrender.
mm,
Surrender is, and what they say is the crown jewel of the characteristics of surrender, is the complete faith and dependency on Krishna to take care of us, that
mm,
Krishna actually will take
mm,
care of us. Not just that he can, but having that faith that, no, 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 I know my friend. He will. He will take care of me. If I withdraw myself, he will figure out a way to take care of me if this situation is supposed to be mine.
mm,
And then if we're looking at a certain job, oh, it's going to pay me all the things that I ever wanted. But if you're going to have no time for your spiritual life, that might not be the way. And then we think, but what if this job never comes by again? This opportunity will never be here. But are we withdrawing on the basis of our own hard work and our own toiling away? Or are we withdrawing on the basis of, even if it's not this job, Krishna will take care of me?
mm,
It's like we have to strengthen that faith muscle, all the while learning how to be flexible and withdraw ourselves. It is actually yoga.
mm,
What they say is yoga teaches you how to relax muscles and flex muscles at the same time, and knowing which one and knowing the difference. And it is the same with our faith.
mm,
Knowing where to relax, knowing where to tense up and put our boundaries there, and then being able to know the difference between the two.
mm, mm. That's I love that analogy. I love any yoga asana analogy. It's really nice actually, because right, weren't we talking about something about being flexible, or
Yeah,
was it us?
yeah,
Or was it, yeah, it
yesterday.
was it was yesterday. Okay. I've been in so many classes since our podcast yesterday. It's like, which class was that? Yeah, this idea of being flexible, of like being able to change when things don't go my way, being able to look underneath what's actually happening and seeing the hidden purport or the hidden messages, right? Understanding or asking at least, like, how is this situation that's happening for me? Because there's so many things. Because of course the question that we always get is, well, like, what about when it gets really bad? And it's like the spiritualist is someone who's going to look underneath and be like, well, how bad is it? And is this really for my spiritual betterment? What can I learn from this situation? Is it something that's going to strengthen my faith in Krishna? And I think it really is about, someone wrote this, Sydney's really into the turtle analogies right now, which I'm really happy about.
I
Emoji
love
analogies. And Sydney said that a turtle goes at a certain pace and that it's a marathon, not a race. And I really like that rhyming.
bars,
Right?
bars,
You see
bars.
that? But it's so nice because yeah, we, like, New York City and just in general, Kali Yuga is so passionate, rajasic, fast paced. Everyone's just like, go, 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 do. And this idea of slowing down, of being observational, of really looking at situations and knowing where it's like, oh, gotta withdraw a little bit. This is not or observing, be like, no, this is okay. I can be here. I can explore, right? And that takes slowing down of the mind. Like, I don't know about all of you, but my mind's like, oh, I got to do this. Yesterday was Tuesday night kirtan at the Bhakti Center, and Jai Jagannath was leading, and I was hosting. And so I was hosting / managing, like making sure everything's going. And right before the kirtan, we were standing in the hall, and I was just like, oh my God, Jai, I just remembered that I agreed to give Bhagavatam class on Thursday, and I'm also giving soul talks. I agreed to give soul talks on Saturday, and it's like, why did I do this to myself? And now I'm here, and I have so many things to do, and like, and Jai was just like, he was just like, he was like, be here now, like, concentrate on the task at hand. That's what he said.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, concentrate on he's like, one thing at a time. And I was like, yes, one thing at a time, and so the mind has this tendency to like go, do. And it's like, yeah, we want to be like that tortoise who's just like, let's slow down, let's observe. Where should I withdraw? Where should I not withdraw? And then I really like what Sydney said again about the tortoise. And we're running fresh on time, so I'll end on this tortoise thing. And then I'll give it to Kimberly. Well, so many people are saying so many things, but Sydney was saying that if we aren't able to do this, if we're going into this unfavorable kind of like things that are affecting our bhakti negatively, then we have an upside down tortoise who is fighting to turn over, and that we need help. Right. So if anyone's ever seen, I see a lot of turtles actually, because I live near Prospect Park and there's a lot of turtles. So when a turtle is turned upside down, they're like struggling. They're like, they're kind of freaking out. And actually, a lot of the times it's the other turtles that will come and they'll be like, it's so cute. And they'll just like, and they'll just like help turn over. And so, yeah, it's like, we need help.
And I bet you the other turtles are not like, George, it's the third time you did this week, bro. Like, how could you? No, they just help the other turtle. They go on about their day. Okay, fine.
Yes, exactly. They're just like, oh, okay, let's go. But
that one made Sydney turn on the camera.
Yeah.
We are turned over this week.
We are fresh out of time. We could keep on talking about turtles and the Bhagavad Gita forever, but let's hear what Kimberly has to say.
Thank you, Kishore and Achita. So I have read the whole article, allow the sentence to finish before jumping to conclusions. And then we're loving this analogy today. We can be like the tortoise and withdraw from situations with the faith that Krishna will take care of us.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Kimberly. Yeah, that's the main thing. Be like the turtle. Awesome. Any takeaways from you, Chuta?
I'm living for this turtle analogy. I think I'll just be like finding turtles all day now.
Me too. I think I'm gonna go for a walk in the park and then observe. But the turtles only come out, they're always there, but when it's sunny, they're all like sunning on the rocks. Turtles love the sun. They love the sun. So yeah, maybe if the sun comes out, I'll go look for the turtles as well.
Which, you know, I really, really like that Krishna consciousness is this way, because like where else do you like, I have a god turtle. Ha.
I know, right? Where else can you go and
Cool.
be like, yeah, my God told me to be like the turtle, so I'm gonna go commune with them over there
And
for a
I get like, it's like every time I look at turtles, I can think of Korma, and then my god is so worshipable that he came and gave fame to all the turtles. Just so you know. I mean, like,
Jai, Jai.
they're just way cooler than everybody else.
And Martha is telling us to have a slow down kind of day, like the turtles. So I will try to do that. Because yesterday for me was like very not turtle like. So today will be a slow down kind of day. I'm wishing all of you a slow down turtle-esque kind of day. Thank you all so much for being here. Sydney and Kimberly, Brudge, Lane and Martha and Rachna and Himalata and Rini. Thank you for our live studio audience. Thank you for everyone listening out there all over the world. I don't know about you, Achita, but during Rath Yatra, I had like a lot of people coming up and just being like, "Oh my God, the podcast, the podcast!" And
Yeah.
they're people who are not like on the live studio audience. They're just listening. They're out there listening. So I know that there's a lot of people out there listening. So thank you all so much for being here, and we will see you all tomorrow. Thank you all so much. Bye.